Joao Pedro is in the form of his life at the moment, banging them away for fun, and he's doing it in a Chelsea shirt, which we absolutely love. Last night he got his first hat-trick in a Chelsea shirt against Aston Villa, which was absolutely unbelievable because that was not looking to be an easy game at all. Obviously, they are just a bit above us in the table, and we have not been on excellent form recently, but Joao Pedro arrived and delivered the goods. So that got me to thinking a little bit. Chelsea have been struggling with the striker curse, right? And I know specifically it's like the number 9 curse, but let's be completely honest, it feels like our strikers have been cursed for the longest time. And since we last won the league, it doesn't feel like we've ever really arrived at a good, reliable bagsman that can just get him in the back of the net consistently for a whole season. So with that in mind, we're going to do something a little bit different today. We are going to dive into every single top scoring striker who has played for Chelsea for the last 10 years, including Joao Pedro this season. We're going to compare their stats, and we're going to start to try and answer the question, is the striker curse finally over? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And like I said, today that means we're talking strikers, right? We're talking strikers. So before we wind it back 10 years to the striker that won us the league, we're going to look at Joao Pedro's stats to begin with, how he's doing this season, right? Just so, you know, this is what we're looking to compare everything with. As of right now, this season, in all competitions, all of these stats are all competitions, Joao Pedro in 25-26 has scored 17 goals, 6 assists, and has a combined G and A of 23, which is great. Do you know what I mean? For a 23, 24-year-old young striker, this is absolutely phenomenal compared to what he was doing at Brighton as well. He was never putting up numbers like this at Brighton at all, and he was scoring, and he was taking penalties at Brighton as well. He got 10 goals last season, but half of them were penalties. So, to my knowledge, none of these are penalties at the moment. So, we are talking about 17 goals from open play from Joao Pedro. Liam Rosenior definitely seems to look like he's unlocked the same Joao Pedro that we got at this, you know, when we bought him initially in the Club World Cup, and he looked absolutely phenomenal. And then it looked like Maresca kind of coached a little bit of that Brazilian magic out of him, but it really looks like it's back in force. 17 goals, 6 assists across all competitions. Absolutely phenomenal performance from Joao Pedro so far. So let's wind it back to the 2016-2017 season under Antonio Conte, where our main guy was Diego Costa. That was fun, wasn't it? Diego Costa scored 22 goals and got 7 assists in that season with a GA of 29, and he was absolutely unreal. And do you know what? I didn't remember him getting that many assists as well. Diego Costa had so much to his game, man. So much to his game. And for me, like, easily is the best striker we've had in the last 10 years. Maybe until now. Obviously, another Brazilian. Diego Costa was an interesting story because he was Brazilian born, but couldn't get into the Brazil team. So because he spent so much time at Atletico Madrid, he was able to elect to play for the Spanish national team instead. Unfortunately, he never played particularly well for them. But I loved Diego Costa in a Chelsea shirt, man. He was bullish and aggressive. But you know what? 1 red card in 3 seasons. He was with us for 3 or 4 seasons. No, I think it was 3 seasons. And he only ever got 1 red card, because your instant memory about Diego Costa is, yeah, he was a bit of a bully and he was a manifester of the dark arts on the pitch, wasn't he? He definitely liked to wind people up. And maybe things would be different now with refereeing and cards being thrown around, especially, you know, Chelsea fans, we know a little thing about that, don't we? I'm not sure how well Diego Costa would get on in current football, even in his peak. But in his peak, 22 goals, 7 assists, won us the league, absolutely phenomenal player, fell out with the manager, it all went a bit sad, and he never really went on to do nearly as good anywhere else either, so it was a shame. So, look, Joao Pedro, not a million miles away from that, to be completely honest, and obviously we're not looking at winning the league this season, but it is not impossible for Joao Pedro to get 5 goals and 1 more assist in this season, is it? When you think about it. So Joao Pedro's got potentially another 10 games to go, roughly. When you think about FA Cup and Champions League, depending on how far we get through there, Joao Pedro could easily score another 5 goals this season. So the chances are Joao Pedro could match this season Diego Costa's last tally for us. So moving on, it gets a little bit more sad from him. Moving on, we have Alvaro Morata, who he's been at so many clubs, I literally can't even remember. I think we got him from Real Madrid. He's obviously spent time at Juventus. He spent a lot of time at Atletico Madrid as well, where he was actually really good. In a Chelsea shirt, he managed 15 goals and 6 assists in that season, and he was our top scoring striker this season. One quick caveat about all of this is I've only chosen the top performer in the striker role, right? There were people that we had that, you know, Eden Hazard obviously outscored a lot of these guys and stuff like that, but we're just talking about strikers today. So yeah, Alvaro Morata, 15 goals, 6 assists in his first season at Chelsea, and he left halfway through the second season as well, so his goal return, although it was okay for the next season, it wasn't, you know, only half of it was at Chelsea. My memories of Alvaro Morata are him receiving getting on the end of long balls from Azpilicueta playing in a back three and heading them in. Do you know what I mean? It's like Alvaro Morata, I think like half of his goals that season were headed, which is kind of nuts actually. We haven't really had such quite a competent header of the ball since then, but Joao Pedro has definitely turned up with a few heads as well. But Alvaro Morata ultimately never lived up to the hype and obviously wasn't happy here because he chose to go to Atletico Madrid halfway through his second season. Next one, really interesting one, and I've had some interesting conversations about this guy, is Olivier Giroud. We bought him from Arsenal, and he is just, for me, on his day, right? And this is a big caveat. On his day, one of the most phenomenal footballers on the planet. He could do it all, man. He had techers, amazing skill. He could score an absolute beautiful technical goal. He could smack it in with his head as well. He could score a scorpion kick. Do you know what I mean? It's like Giroud literally is responsible for some of the best looking goals ever, I think. Do you know what I mean? But his overall performance didn't really live up to that. Do you know what I mean? I personally, and this is where I've had some arguments with people, I found Giroud to be quite inconsistent. Now, in this season, this was his best season for us, right? He got 13 goals, 9 assists, and 22 goals and assists in all competitions. That is the year that we won the Europa League, and he scored quite a lot of that. I think he was the top scorer in the Europa League that year with like 7 goals or something. But like I say, the consistency just wasn't there. We weren't able to rely on him to be the guy up top all of the time. He didn't score enough in the league. He often went missing. It was a real shame. And ultimately, what you can see already is like we've gone from, starting with Diego Costa at 22, Alvaro Morata at 15. We're back down to, 13 goals in an entire season. And that was our top scoring striker in that season, man. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Like the assist tally is really good. Actually, one of the things that Giroud was really good at was linking up play, especially with Eden Hazard. Like those moments between Eden Hazard and Olivier Giroud were absolutely phenomenal. But he was a good backup. Like I'd love to have Olivier Giroud or a player of that caliber in the squad right now. Do you know what I mean? Like a really good, like instead of Liam Delap, do you know what I mean? 100%. Olivier Giroud would be a really good backup striker, and his experience was always really useful. He played into his 30s and still kept a lot of his magic because he was never like a pace merchant or anything. Do you know what I mean? Speed was never his thing, so he stayed good for quite a long time. But ultimately, in his pomp, 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 GA is good across the season, don't get me wrong. But in terms of your number 9, your striker, do you know what I mean? It's like you need a little bit more in the way of goals from that, don't you? So things do start to get a little bit better when we move on to the 1920 season, with Tammy Abraham scoring 18 goals and 4 assists. And since Diego Costa, up until then, he was our best striker. Like, I love Tammy Abraham, man. I had a little pang of disappointment seeing him play for Aston Villa against us the other day, but obviously we won that game, so it's great. And Tammy Abraham had a good spell in Italy. Do you know what I mean? He played for Roma, at least. I've maybe one more other team as well. I can't exactly remember. But he's a good striker. Do you know what I mean? He's a good striker. He was one of Frank Lampard's guys, wasn't he? Frank Lampard came in that season and was like, right, I'm bringing you all in. All of you strikers are coming in. And Tammy Abraham, in his first season, 18 goals and 4 assists, is no slouch at all. He was very young at the time as well, like 19, 20, super young. Just wasn't meant to be, but ultimately things did look like they were getting a little bit better, and that is, as I said, since Diego Costa in that kind of 4-year period, that was the best tally that we had. Joao Pedro was already beating him out for assists and already has a better GA, but still needs to score one more goal to at least match that goal tally, but again, you'd have thought that was going to happen, wouldn't you? So look, just for based on where we are in the video, Joao Pedro has not yet had as good a season as Diego Costa did when we last won the league, but could get there. But he was better than Alvaro Morata, and he's better than Olivier Giroud in his pomp. And the GA is already better, but his goal return will probably beat Tammy Abraham's as well. But guys, before we carry on further into the video, if you have made it this far, you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing this video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so moving on, this is where things, this was awful. We're going to move into the 2021 season, and that is when Timo Werner makes his appearance, right? So this was an interesting one. Tammy Abraham and Timo Werner were on the team at the same time at this point. Timo Werner scored 12 goals and got 11 assists for a GA of 23. Tammy Abraham also scored 12 goals, but only got like 4 assists. So I've chosen Timo Werner here rather than putting them both together because Timo Werner had a better season overall and contributed more. But ultimately, although not our top scorer, because he was joint with Tammy Abraham, at least for the goals, like his assist ratio was so much better. But Timo Werner was just another really disappointing one, wasn't he? Timo Werner, I remember like the fan base was desperately trying to manifest Timo Werner being an incredible player. Like, he looked so good at Red Bull Leipzig and he was absolutely banging him away over there. But unfortunately, Timo Werner is the story of something we've seen quite a lot of times at Chelsea. We've bought a left forward or a wide forward that isn't a striker and tried to play him as a striker. We've seen it with Kai Havertz and Christopher Nkunku, Joao Felix, do you know what I mean? We've seen a couple of these guys come in and that we've tried to play in the striker role that just aren't really strikers. Timo Werner was one of them. He had an okay season, I guess. But again, what we're looking at is not just how did Timo Werner do that season. That was our top performing striker in that season. So the tally is just going down. Tammy Abraham's performance was unbelievable in that first season, do you know what I mean? But then we brought in all of these other players like your Kai Havertz and your Werners and stuff, and things obviously got a little bit difficult. That was the season that Frank Lampard was sacked as well, I think. So Thomas Tuchel took over, and when Thomas Tuchel won us the Champions League, going into the next season, 21-22, our striker was Romelu Lukaku. Yay! Let's talk about Romelu Lukaku. Oh dear, 21-22. £90 million, absolutely outrageous amount of money. Started well, but ultimately just flopped completely. Romelu Lukaku in that season scored 15 goals and got 0 assists. So his GA is 15, but it's, you know, he literally just scored 15 goals. 15 goals, not a terrible return for a striker's first season, but ultimately it was a different story with Romelu Lukaku because he was, you know, he did lots of Premier League experience. He'd played really well at Everton, got great numbers. He'd been at Man United for a long time. He'd won the league with Inter Milan in Italy, and we were expecting 20 plus, easy, minimum we were expecting that. And then he obviously completely threw Chelsea under the bus within a few months of moving here by going and doing that interview with an Italian outlet and was like, oh, I'd love to go back to Inter one day. And it's like, bro, we've just spent 90 mil on you, do you know what I mean? And then the crazy thing about that was he mugged off Inter and was when he was like, oh, maybe I'll go to Juventus, do you know what I mean? He just made his life so difficult for himself. So yeah, Romelu Lukaku was a sad patch, and ultimately his goal return wasn't nearly good enough, absolutely nearly good enough, you know. And we get to this point, don't we, where you see a lot of the numbers on this list and you're like, Timo Werner scoring 12 and Olivier Giroud got 13, like 15's okay. It's like, no, it's not, because we spent 90 million on him and we were supposed to challenge for the title, but we didn't. So really difficult moment with the whole Romelu Lukaku thing. Ultimately just never good enough, man. Just absolutely never good enough. So then we move into 22-23 and we start to talk about Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz, in my book, not a striker, but that's where he was being played. You know, even Mikel Arteta doesn't really know what to do with him. Like, Mikel Arteta's got some good, you know, stretches of performance out of Kai Havertz for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, Kai Havertz isn't a striker. You know, I don't understand what it was. He is another one that played as like a left forward for Bayer Leverkusen when he scored like 20 goals in that season. But he just couldn't cut it as a striker in the Premier League. And this is the saddest one, man. Look at this goal return. This was our top performing striker. Yes, all right, okay, do you know what I mean? He won us the Champions League when he did and whatever, but look at this, man, our top scorer for that season, 9 goals and 1 assist as a striker. Do you know what I mean? As a striker. Absolute awful performance here. Awful performance. And I was very glad to see the back of Kai Havertz, I'm completely honest. Even though he's gone on to do okay at Arsenal, he's not an undisputed first teamer there, do you know what I mean? And he is still, the question is still being asked of him now, and he's like 26, 27, you know, he's starting to not get on, do you know what I mean? He's going into his prime, but no one actually knows what his best position is yet or how to get the best out of him. Moving on, things started to get a little bit better again. We got Nicolas Jackson, right? Nicolas Jackson comes in the 23-24 season and scores 17 goals and gets 6 assists in his first season for a GA of 23. Now, Nicolas Jackson scored 14 of those goals in the Premier League and none of them were penalties. So it was 14 goals from open play in the Premier League and 3 in other competitions. Nicolas Jackson is another one, you know, a converted winger that became a striker and stuff, but it looked promising, man. It looked good, you know what I mean? Pochettino did a really, really good job with Nicolas Jackson. He had a good season and, you know, we were starting to hope again that he would kind of develop into this thing, and he started really promisingly with 17 goals, 6 assists, 23 GA. Nicolas Jackson was also our top scoring striker for the next season as well, but, you know, still not great. In 24-25, Nicolas Jackson managed 13 goals and 5 assists for a GA of 18. Now, he did spend a lot of that out injured, to be fair. He was out injured for a couple of months in that season, but also this is when things started to creep in, like the red cards, and you know, I mean, he would go missing for a lot of games in a row as well. Like he'd score, like, you know, he'd score a hat trick or a brace every now and again, which kind of inflated his numbers a little bit. But yeah, obviously not good enough for, and he was our unchallenged striker as well. This is the other thing. The minutes that Nicolas Jackson got, despite being injured for a while in that season, were crazy because he was the only actual striker that we had. And when he got injured, we were playing Pedro Neto as a false nine. Do you know what I mean? So he really had no competition at all, and he was just not able to kick on. Obviously, now he's at Bayern Munich. They don't want to keep him. We're going to end up with him back in the summer. Left wing, anyone? Nicolas Jackson, left wing? Let me know what you think about it in the comments. So, and that takes us, although we started with him, we will finish with him as well. Joao Pedro, 25-26, 17 goals, 6 assists, 23 GA, with 10 games to go. It is not crazy to think that he could match Diego Costa's tally of 22 goals, 7 assists, 29 GA in his first season in a Chelsea shirt at the age of 23, 24 years old. Do you know what I mean? So the question is Joao Pedro the one? Right? Now, do we start to get excited? Let me know what you think, guys. Like, I think Joao Pedro looks like the perfect type of striker for us because he has all of this stuff, right? And when I say that, I mean, like, when we bought Timo Werner and Kai Havertz and Christopher Nkunku and all of these other guys, they were all, I'm not just a striker, I'm this as well. Like, Christopher Nkunku was a left forward. And Kai Havertz was a left or right forward that played as part of a two. Timo Werner was a left or right forward that played as part of a two. Joao Pedro's got that and did play a lot as part of a two at Brighton, but is proving he can lead the line on his own and make use of those other abilities to make him a better striker. What it felt like with the other guys is Timo Werner needed to play in a certain system. Christopher Nkunku needed to play in a certain system in order to get the best out of them. But Joao Pedro was coming in as the lone number 9 and getting these kind of figures, man. And that's absolutely amazing. We've been trying to find this player for a really long time. Do you know what I mean? And it looks like we may well have found him. So, as of right now, Joao Pedro has matched Nicolas Jackson's best season. He is joint second across this list. I think, is it 20, is he 29? So, yeah, I'll just quickly go through them. Diego Costa, 29 GA. Alvaro Morata, 21 GA. Olivier Giroud, 22 GA. Tammy Abraham, 22 GA. Timo Werner, 23 GA. Okay, there it is. Romelu Lukaku, it was 15. Kai Havertz, 10. Nicolas Jackson, 23. Yeah, okay, so he's joint second with Timo Werner, Nicolas Jackson, at the very least, of GA since Diego Costa, but he's got 10 games to go. So if he scores one more goal and gets one more assist, he's the second GA since Diego Costa. 5 goals, 1 assist, matches Diego Costa. I've got a feeling the 5 goals, we'll see. At the end of the day, he got a hat-trick against Aston Villa, do you know what I mean? So, multiple goals in a game will obviously be a big part of whether that's going to be the case or not. But I genuinely think that Joao Pedro will potentially match Diego Costa's best season in a Chelsea shirt. And he's 23, he's part of the model, he's the sort of player that Blue Co have been looking for. He's a young player that can grow with the squad and carry on getting better. He seems to have the right manager at the moment in Liam Rossignol. Like, it really didn't look like that under Enzo Maresca did it, to be completely honest. Like, Enzo Maresca seemed to suck the magic out of him, kind of like he did with Cole Palmer, like we were worried about him doing with Estevan Willian. But ultimately, since Joao Pedro's been freed up and been allowed to play in central channels a bit more and not have to drop so deep all the time, he's definitely benefited from it. And he scored, it's like 8-9 goals or something in the last 8 games. I can't even, I haven't got the stat to mind, but it's crazy. Do you know what I mean? This purple patch that he's going through at the moment is wild. Is the curse over? Is the striker curse over? Can Joao Pedro be the guy that we can rely on to improve and get better? Now, Nicolas Jackson started really well. Nicolas Jackson did not kick on. There is always that chance, depending on what we do with the striker situation as well. This is the other really big thing. We've got Emmanuel Omega coming in at the end of the season. What's going to happen with Liam Delap? There's been some noise about Joaquin Panicelli. We need to be careful not to do what we've done in other seasons with the likes of Timo Werner and Kai Havertz and Tammy Abraham in particular. Tammy Abraham had a great season. We bought all of these other players. The system changes, the manager changes. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need to give Joao Pedro the platform to continue playing as well as he is currently. So Joao Pedro now has to be the starting number 9 and people have to fight him for that spot. That is 100% true, isn't it? So, guys, let me know what you think. Is Joao Pedro the man to break the striker curse, and are we going to see him scoring 20 plus goals a season for Chelsea in the long term? I think it's possible. I'd love to know what you guys think. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and it was fun. It was nice. Did a bit of research, making a few graphics, and just looking at times past, right? It's always good to reminisce, isn't it? Especially about Diego Costa. What a player. What a player. Nice one, guys. I'm going to catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.